Hi everyone, this is daveac.blip.tv and this is my vblog 099. How exciting for Friday the 11th of June 2010. And change my dear, and not a moment too soon. Well, sorry, too soon actually I whine. Yes, wine at the end. And that's a little bit of information I need to give out. There won't be any music today. There won't be any DVD. There won't be any book. But please carry on and watch the show, because there is some quite interesting tech news. And of course, I like to give out information about what's happening in the podcasting related to Doctor Who and so on. So first of all, let's get the sort of things. I got feedback from people, people in particular who use either the iPod or the Apple iPhone, and the last week's version that I did at the new high resolution of 1280 by 720, and I uploaded that as the QuickTime movie version that goes to iTunes, seems to have a compatibility issue with those mobile devices. Now, I knew they couldn't display that picture natively, but I was hoping that they would downscale it because they're pretty powerful pieces of equipment, but apparently not. Now, to try and ameliorate the situation, what I did is that I uploaded another version that those mobile devices can display, and that's an MPEG-4 version back at the resolution that I'm currently using now of 640 by 360. But of course, if people use their mobile devices and sync them with their desktops or their laptops using iTunes, it seems to want to use the QuickTime version. I'm not sure if it will automatically find the lower resolution MPEG-4. And because each time I provide a different resolution, I have to do a separate upload, because I'm not on the professional membership of the Blip.tv site, which incurs quite a lot of cost to me. And I've got to pay for the wine, you know. I mean, that's a bit of an outlay already. So what I've done is I've gone back for now to 640 by 360, but I'm going to up the bit rate slightly, and hope that that will both mean that the picture at this current size stays slightly sharper. It will blow up more elegantly to a larger screen size. And also, when the Blip TV site does the flash version, it'll have a slightly higher master to work from, and hopefully even that low encoding version. And it's actually also, by the way, I've not mentioned this for some weeks, quite a number of these versions are on the what was called the Wayback Machine, the Internet Archive. There's a lot of Blip TV things there, and about 20 odd of daveac.blip.tv episodes are up there for posterity. So hello posterity, hope the world is still around. Okay, well, let's get on with some of the news. One slight difference, the wine I'm going to do, it will be a twin wine, but I'll explain that at the end. Yes, a bit of a Sixth Doctor theme going on here. You know, change my dear, not a moment too soon, and twin dilemma at the end. So a little bit of Sixth Doctor trivia there. Okay, Doctor Who Pod Shop. Right, I said that the likely episode to come out, which would talk about Cold Blood, would be probably numbered episode 205, because it hadn't quite come out when I did my last week's show. Well, Lewis has taken the opportunity to release another subscribers video. That means if you are one of the people that supports the Gallifreyan Embassy Doctor Who Pod Shop with a small donation each month, you get added content. And he has had episode 205 as one of those subscriber extra contents. Now, there is a little sampler of that on the main Podshop feed, so people will see what sort of things are being offered to those subscribers. So do at least check that out, and then consider whether you'd like to be a subscriber. That means, and again I've just checked before I went online, that the episode that we'll be covering, the Cold Blood, was actually episode 206. And what Lewis has done, and I think this is a bit to sort of catch back up in sequence, rather than do it in 2 episodes, he's made it one long episode, which is nearly 2 hours long, about an hour and 50 minutes, and taken the whole of the live show onto one individual show. Now, I wasn't able to make that show, but I did help by sending in those audio contributions. The Sunday that has just gone at 2 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time on TalkShoe ID 54821. The Cultum Collective, of course, met as usual, and we did our live episode about Vincent and the Doctor. And that, would you believe, is the 10th episode of the 13-part series that is what we're doing with Matt Smith, and hopefully there's going to be a Christmas special. I think it's pretty certain that there's going to be a Christmas special as well. And that was a very interesting thing. Please do check that out, either at the cultum.com site, or from our Facebook page, our podcast alley, from the TalkShoe site itself, or subscribe on iTunes. That way you won't miss any of the episodes. And then later that night, Ian, myself, and Mike, that's Randa Thor, we did another one of our commentaries, obviously, on Vincent and the Doctor. So please check that out. Between those 2 recordings, Lewis did at 5 p.m. did his Podshock, and I was able to join him on that one this week, and that was their recording of Vincent and the Doctor, but that is not yet up on the feeds. It will probably be up either later today or early tomorrow, so look out for that. So that's the Doctor Who Podshock things, but there's more. Thursday night, I had a nice night out with friends, had a couple of pints, came home, but couldn't really settle, and so I decided that it would be nice to do an extra bonus episode, as it were, of the Cultum Collective. Now, way back to about episode 38 and 9, when the new series 1 of Matt Smith had only aired 3 episodes, we did a sort of early review of how the series was going, and we called that 3 Down, 10 to Go. So to mirror image that, we did one late last night. Unfortunately, I couldn't get in touch with Ian early enough, but Mike was available, so Mike came on, and Terry Lightfoot, is that right? Terry from the Dirty Whoers came on as well, and we had quite a number of people in the Crimson Box and so on in the actual TalkShoe client, and we did an episode called 10 Down, 3 to Go, where we had a quick mini review of each of the 10 episodes that have gone by, some of the things that we've been watching out for, and some of the clues that seem to be either red herrings or real clues, and then a little bit about what we're hoping for the climax of this series. That show ran a couple of minutes shy of 2 hours, and that now is directly and already up on the feeds and on TalkShoe. So I hope you'll check that out. So that's all the Doctor Who, but there's one more little bit of science fiction, and it comes from Russell T Davies. And first of all, let me just say that he's gone on record as saying he's loving new Doctor Who. He doesn't really miss the work, he says, but he loves receiving. They send him a special DVD over to America where he is, and he enjoys watching it on the Saturday nights as it's airing back here in the UK. He's loving it, and he only has one recommendation, that instead of doing 13 episodes a year, that should be increased to 20 episodes a year. So good on you, Russell. That's a great idea. But he's got some news of his own. With Julie Gardner and some of the rest of his crew that went over to the States, they finally got together a package with the BBC and a couple of other TV alliances in America to bring Torchwood back, to have a series 4 of Torchwood, and this will be a 10 episode series. It will have an overriding arc. It won't be a 5-day event like Children of Earth that was 5 days on the run, but it will be 10 episodes with a common thread running through it. It won't necessarily be all based in Wales, although some of it might be. They're going to be sort of globe-trotting, but it will feature, of course, Captain Jack and Gwen Cooper, the two surviving characters that will be taking Torchwood forward. And I hope me saying that wasn't too much of a spoiler, because the others have aired quite some time ago now. So that's an awful lot of me talking, and I've gone 10 minutes already. So let me just look down. The rest is quite a little bit of tech stuff. Now, some of it relates to here, where I am here in the UK, and relates to the ongoing thing about BBC HD. Well, you see, here's me having trouble trying to rejig my video to get the best I possibly can and to allow the most possible people to download and watch. There's been this constant battle with the BBC about the standard of the BBC HD and the bitrate. Well, the news I said last week is, of course, that they are now going to bring BBC One to HD. So there's going to be, sometime in the autumn, 2 high-definition BBC channels. One mostly mirroring BBC One, and then the current one, which will have the expanded hours, 12 hours instead of 9. The main switch that they've gone on to with the satellite-fed version of the BBC, this is not the Freeview HD by the aerial, this is the satellite, is they've gone to variable bitrate. So there was all this kerfuffle when they come down from 20 megabytes a second to 16.5 megabytes a second to 9.7 megabytes, that sometimes the picture was just hitting the ceiling when it had to lose detail, so the picture didn't break up, and it kept hitting those critical moments in drama or in sport, and a lot of us, myself included, were complaining about that. Well, they've switched to the variable bit rate, and that is under supervision. And I just want to give a thank you out to I can never get the name right. It's Lindosat, and I'm going to spell this out. Their site, well, it's a German and English one, I think, but the one I've got this from is www, and it's LINOWSAT, all one word, Linosat, and then it's .de, but there is an English version. And Oliver, I think it is, who runs that site, has very kindly, and I'm not going to show it on the screen because it's to do with what the people who actually pay to get the data from that site, a very involved graph showing the varying bit rate over a 24-hour period. And the good news is, and I can read this, I think, although the average bit rate has actually gone down from the 9.7, the average bit rate is 7.5 megapixels a second. Because, of course, there are sections when they're undemanding. In actual fact, the minimum bit rate recorded in that one day is 4.1 megabytes a second. But when the screen or the picture needs that, it's not throttled by a lack of bit rate, and the bit rate has actually peaked at 16.24, so almost back to 16.5 megabytes. So it's 16.24 kilobits a second. I better get that right. Kilobits, not megabits. So that is really very, very interesting that that this has been done, because what will happen soon, or it may already have happened today, is now the World Cup has started, they will what they call lock down the specs. They don't make any changes through a major event. They didn't through the election fortnight, 3 weeks, and now the World Cup is, the chances are now they won't make any more changes. They have made some background changes in the way that noise reduction is treated, and they've made some slight upgrades to the actual transmission side of things before the picture actually goes out. And I must say that there seems to be somewhat an improvement. The Queen's tennis has been a little bit suspect the last few days. It looked a little bit better today, but I certainly felt as though the last episode of Luther looked rather good, even though the bit rate overall was slightly down, because it can cope with these peaks when it's required. So sorry about that. That's very UK-based info. the other piece of high definition news is that here in the ITV side of things, that's the commercial stations, that's subdivided up around the country. And where I live here in Manchester, it's called the Granada region, and they're just launched, I think it was either yesterday or from very early this morning. There is now an ITV HD Granada specific channel. That means that when it cuts to the news sections and so on, it doesn't mean that I have to watch the London based channel. I can see the Manchester based one. So that is actually quite a little bit of an improvement. So that is really good. And one other thing is, I thought I'd lost Lux TV HD. That seemed to go off air about a week ago. That seems to be back. So that's 3 channels I've got in HD. Hopefully channel 4 HD will become free for me to see soon. And then also we've got the BBC one. So sorry about all that talk about UK stuff. But there's been lots of other tech stuff. I mean, from very simple things, well, not simple things, but what might only need a sentence to explain. Google have changed the way that they do all under the bonnet searches. There's been quite a massive transition under the hood. So you might find that when you're doing searches, why not try and search for Cult and Collective or daveac.blip.tv, and you might see that there's the order in which things come up on screen is different because they're going out and using a neural network to get information from lots of different places. So they're using a different search pattern. Okay, right. Well, have I missed anything? No, except big launch, the iPhone, the version 4 of the Apple iPhone, and of course the i4 operating system as well. Now I've just got a page here that, and I will just, it's from a site called phonesreview.co.uk. So it's www.phonesreview, or one word, .co.uk, and it's the iPhone 4 versus the iPhone 3GS and their specs. So let me just read this little bit and hope it gives you a little bit of an idea of what the major differences are. Okay, so here's the main differences in those specs. The iPhone 3GS has a 600 megahertz processor with 256 megs of RAM, whilst the iPhone 4 has a 1 gigahertz processor and 512 megabytes of RAM. The iPhone 3GS storage capacity is either 8 gig, 16 gig, 32 gig, where the iPhone 4 is 16 gig or 32 gig. The 3GS, the S stands for speed, of course, that in itself was an update, gives talk time of 5 hours, while the iPhone 4 delivers 7 hours. The 3GS has a 3 megapixel camera, while the iPhone 4 has a 5 megapixel camera. In actual fact, it has 2 cameras. And of course, the iPhone GS video recording is VGA with tap to focus, while the iPhone 4 has HD with tap to focus. It will record at up to 720p. Now, the other difference is in the screens. And this is one of the things that's been causing me problems. The iPhone 3GS had a resolution, remember I do this at 640 by 360, the resolution of that screen is 480 by 320 with a 163 pixels per inch for the actual quality of the screen, where the iPhone 4 is 960 by 640. So although it shoots video up to 720, the screen itself is only 690 by 640 with very, very small pixels of 326 pixels per inch. And then there's a slight difference. I think the iPhone weighs a couple of grams heavier, and there's slight margins of changes on the side. But that is the main things, and they've said that people might be able to get out of their 18-month contract slightly earlier. Certainly they've said that in the States, and the pricing seems to be either the same are very, very similar pricing. So hopefully that will translate here into the UK. And I think it goes on sale about the 26th of June, if I'm correct. Okay. I'm sorry again for all this talking, but I wanted to get this other thing out. And one more little bit of speculation, and this will perhaps be more next week, as the International Entertainment Expo known as E3 is coming along. There's getting a few rumours about what's happening in the game station market. Of course, the Xbox 360 is bringing their Project Nadal out. But to go along with that and the extra cost that involves, there's some thought that there's going to be a slimmed down version of the Xbox 360, maybe at a cheaper price to offset the extra cost, the quite expensive cost of this Project Nadal, which is rather strange because you don't have any controllers in your hand and yet it's dearer. And that's because, of course, they have the visual display that's checking out your movements, and that part of the equipment is about $299. So it can be a big and expensive upgrade. And I'm very aware of my time going on. So one more thing, and there is a possible rumour that the PlayStation 3, although that's already slimmed down, there is a chance that the price might get slimmed down to sort of reignite the market, because one could imagine that this coming Christmas might be the last big Christmas for those two consoles, as we get things like 3D TV taking over, and they may need to bring a more powerful console out for Christmas to come after that. So that's things to look out for. Look out for news about the Electronic Entertainment Expo known as E3. Now, I don't know about you, but I need a drink after that. In fact, I need 2 drinks. In fact, I need twin drinks. And that is exactly what I'm doing. If you follow my tweets, you'll see that in the last couple of days, I was drinking this wine. Look, there's only a bit left, and that's good of me, because usually 2 nights, a whole bottle would go. And there it is, Nederberg, I think is how you pronounce it. It's Shiraz, 2008. It's 14.5%. It's wine of South Africa. But that's been open 2 days, and it's poured out. Second bottle, because I got it at a bargain price, unopened, still sealed. Second glass. After I've tasted that one, I'm going to pour straight out of the bottle and see if that you can see the difference about how this one that's been opened a couple of days have opened up, and whether there's actually more aromas or more better nose on this one, or whether it's softer, or whether there's more tannins coming through or whatever. So that's what we're going to do. We're already 22 or 3 minutes in, so I'm going to have to rush my drinking. So here we go. Still smells plenty of that dark fruit berry coming on the nose. Remember, there's quite a bit of heat in this, 14.5%. It's quite velvety. There's not a lot of oak. There's a nice blackcurranty fruit coming through. It's like it's more blackcurranty than red cherry. Little bit of spice, maybe a little bit of vanilla, but basically I'm getting a lot of fruit and not a lot of tannins from it, and it's a very smooth, as it says on the bottle, a sort of a velvety finish, a little bit like those Ripasso wines, but there's an awful lot of heat in it, and it's quite a full-bodied wine. And I rather like it. It's supposed to be about an £8 wine. That's a $12 wine. That's a €10 wine. But I got basically 2 bottles for the same price, so I'm quite happy with that. Right, opening. You know, these are live shows. Done once, recorded once, goes out, faults and all. So I'm pouring it out. Now I am using a larger red wine glass here, because I want to at least give it a little bit of chance to open up as I... So I'm just giving it a little bit of a swirl around. Oh, I'm getting more of that sort of earthiness coming out that I remember when I first opened it. It's gone slightly from that one. Now it might be the glass that's helping that, but I'm definitely getting a mix with the sort of not mustiness, but and it's not manuriness. It's this farmyard smell that they go on about, our dirt road smell. Now there's slightly more tannins there. It's slightly not harsher in the mouth, but there's a definite more presence there of a sort of slight vanilla-y oak on it. Let me see it. Does it say it's kept in oak? All the promise of, oh, it says right, plums, berries and oak spice aromas. Well, there's definitely more sense of that as this comes straight out of the bottle. But I would say where this one's almost gone a little bit too soft and it's the fruit's there and not much else, I've got a feeling that this wine, it's been opened, by the time I drink it later tonight, it's going to have just aired out that little bit and be at its peak. So straight out of the bottle, not quite as smooth as you would expect. 2 days later, and it's beginning to soften up too much. So that, to me, is proof positive that a wine like this, if you're going to drink it with a meal, open the bottle out on the table, half an hour before you eat, maybe even pour half a glass out, just because, of course, if only that neck part is exposed to the air, it's not going to get much oxygen. But if at least double the surface is got contact with the air, an hour later or so, it will begin to sort of, the oxidization process will start, and it will just start to sort of come together as a wine, and it will open up. Well, we've talked too long. I've talked too long. That's Dave AC, Blip TV, 099. Guess what? It's number 100 next week. See you then. Bye.